Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Oh yeah, Randy Swaim back here, and he knows a thing or two about success as an executive coach, as a pilot, as a mentor. He's been joining us for quite some time here with his shows and enlightening us with all the work that he does to help so many people based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but his company is worldwide. So Randy, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thanks. Always good to be here with you, my friend. No two ways about it.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I know we're going to have something good in store. Give us the breakdown, right? Leadership it is. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to kind of mention something, and I think I'm going to expand a little bit on some of a couple of little simple things that I mentioned before. But it's talking about this real aspect of leadership, not the dictatorial academic picture of it, but the real aspect of leadership. And what are a couple of things you need to be aware of and not get in the way and things like that and everything. And because a lot of people don't fully understand that so much. So that's kind of what I thought I'd talk a little bit about today.
All right.
And you can see this in a lot of areas. So
awesome. Well, thank you. Excited to get started. And by the way, first and foremost, how was your week? Anything new and exciting? We always catch up. We didn't today.
Well, it's always that. I was on a podcast call and a thing with Stephanie today and everything this morning, and but glad to be here with this. And it's actually a little bit of a lighter week, and so it's able to get some things done, and going to be working on the next 3 blogs that are going to be going to my website and everything. And so yeah, just pretty decent week.
All right, great. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, fill me in. What's going on?
Well, here's what I would thought I would kind of go, because there's a lot of people in sort of business today, but in aspects of this that think in terms of just managers, and one of the things that you can think of, and I've seen more people do these kind of things than you would even imagine, kind of thing. But a lot of managers, when you look at them and what they do, they're not really connecting with their people. They're not really whatever. What they're doing is everything they are doing is acting in such a way so their people will just shut their brains off and capitulate to them. And that is not leadership. That's dictatorial control freak stuff. And it doesn't get your team or your organization where you want it to go. And one of the ways that you subtly see this, and I've seen this in a number of places, not to me, but just observed it, kind of from a little bit of a distance and everything. But they're sometimes the managers that are just dictatorial and rote, control freak people there, they want to kind of maybe tell a joke or something and get somebody in their team to laugh, kind of thing, and all this. And on the surface, that sounds like it could be a good thing, but you got to realize that what you're really going for, you got to be careful of, because what those people are doing a lot of times when they do that is they're trying to make their people just shut their brains off and capitulate and come over and be with me, kind of thing, and just do what I bring up and everything. And that's just something to think about, that if the focus is just on you and doing that, you're not being a leader. Yeah. And you're not really getting the things done. In fact, one of the things that I'm bringing up as I go forward is this aspect that when you're talking about leading members of your team in your operation, if all you're doing is just having them shut everything out and come over and kind of thing like that and everything, you're not really getting the job done. Because here's the thing, if they are actually growing as real successful people, guess what? They may have some insights that nobody else had. And the bottom line is, it doesn't mean it has to be totally different, but they may in their mind have a little bit of a picture of how you make the strategy such that that doesn't fail it, that doesn't
Ah,
hold it back, and things of that nature. Whereas if all you're doing is, shutting them off, and you want to make it so that they don't do any thinking on their own. You just want them to come ask you questions, kind of thing. And that's just a couple of the aspects of what I'm referring to as the dysfunctional, managers thing. It's not being true leaders. It's not being a true leadership. Because here's the thing, and it's one thing I will say on this is
mm-hmm.
even if you're being the manager and you need to become more of a leader. There's one person that I've kind of heard share this, and it was pretty wild kind of thing, because it was somebody who was like an 88-year-old person who was doing something that got their brain going even more and all this kind of stuff into something, and somebody asked them what they're doing that for at 88, 90 years old, kind of thing. And he said, well, because even at this age, even though I'm exceeded and successfully accomplished so much at this age, you know what? I'm still growing. I'm still learning a couple of things,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And we have to understand that. And there's a lot of people that are managers that think that because they're managers, I don't got to do that anymore because I'm just that, kind of thing. You just do this, you listen to me, and then kind of thing. And if you see a person that is a manager for your team that is acting that way, even though they may not
Yeah.
be saying it, but acting that way, guess what? That may not be the person you want to have as the leader in your team. Because when you're talking about leaders, you're growing your ability, you're growing your own ability to make it better and all this, and you're not getting people just to be completely capitulated to you, but you're interacting with your people so they experience you a little bit differently,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Absolutely.
kind of look at it and go, wow, yeah, you know what, yeah, cool, kind of thing. And that aspect of the desire and the synergy in the team comes to play, not because of something you required or pointed fingers or initiated, but it's something they experienced. And the bottom line is, what do you have in their role that can be coming up as a particular experience in your team? And that's something that a lot of people don't think about so much. It's not about you just dictating and controlling and kind of looking at them like this, and all that kind of stuff, and not doing anything else. It's not about that, but it's about you helping develop them and help them grow and to
Mm-hmm.
become in such a ways that a lot of times they will see something you didn't see, and
Yeah.
they can mention it to you and make you go, oh, you know what? Yeah, okay, well, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this, kind of thing, or perhaps. And so this aspect about it is, when you talk about, getting yourself in a role of a manager, if
Yeah.
all you're thinking about is it's my role to just tell them what to do and to go do it and da 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 da. If that's all you're doing, you're not being a leader, and you're not developing true success accomplishment aspects in your team. And and so the bottom line is that sometimes people have to think about that. If you see, and I'll tell you, if you're like a senior manager or a director of operations for an organization, and you see some people, some of the lower level managers doing that, you need to have conversations with them. Does it mean you got to be threatening them and all this? No, but bringing that real awareness to them so they understand it. And is that something that is part of your organization and your massive team kind of thing, so that your people understand living with that and growing with that. And so it's just something to think about,
Yeah.
that a lot of people today don't really understand. But you know what? Like I said, if and I loved what this one person said, you know what, regardless if you're 70 years old and you're the leadership of a team or whatever, guess what? There may be one or two things that you're going to be learning from. And if you just shut your brain off and say, well, no, I don't need to learn nothing anymore, and that's your whole mindset,
And speaking of mindset, are you there?
yeah, in your mindset. And so the bottom line is in your mindset, you've got to be able to understand whatever level you're at, what's the one thing that you can still grow and become on. It may not be something that's this big. It may be something that's like that. But you know what? It might be something that makes a real difference for you and your team. And you know what? If you learn that and can bring that to play, sometimes magical things can happen. But the bottom line is a lot of people have a tendency to think that if they get to this age or if they get to this position in my company, well, I don't got to do anything. I don't need to learn nothing anymore. Well, that's not true. That's a dysfunctional mindset because regardless of where you are, there are certain things that you need to kind of learn and gain uh, understanding of and everything. And part of this is the coaching aspect and the neuroscience aspect of the application of all of this, because there's a lot of things like that that can come into play that you just kind of made an assumption of 25 years ago. But you know what? Situation might be a little bit different. And do you have what it takes to truly have an insight as to what's really coming on scene and what do we really need to do? And if all it is me just kind of coming up with what I think is the rote academic answer and just shutting the brains off and just shut, because and I don't know, you may have heard somebody say this before, I don't know, but I have, that somebody, when they go into something and it doesn't work out the way they expected, their phrase that they bring out is, well, it should have been this way, should have done this. Well, you know what? Guess what? You should have known that prior to whatever. You should have had an understanding of this situation and the
Yeah.
factors and all that. But also, you needed to understand what is different in this scenario. And so there's just a lot of things like that that a lot of people don't fully understand. And I don't care how long you've been in your role, but you know what? If you have not truly developed the ability to insight and magically, grow your team, not just academically because of your stuff, but because of their vision, their strategic awareness, their decision making, and all of that. If you have not done any of that, guess what? That's one aspect that you need to do. And I'll tell you what, when you're talking to somebody, even if it's somebody on your team or somebody else in the company or whatever, if you're talking about to somebody about that, but you're doing it only in rote academic factors, where you're just saying, well, it should be doing this, and do. Guess what? You're missing the boat, because in the world, sometimes those factors have slightly different factors that sneak on the scene that you didn't expect. And what can you do about it? So the bottom line is, as I mentioned sort of at the beginning of this little podcast here, the bottom line is if your entire focus as being the team manager of your team, if your entire focus is on just your ability to control and manipulate and all this kind of stuff, and that's all you're ever thinking about, you're missing the boat. But if you understand this aspect of the coaching perspective and the neuroscience awareness, if you're gaining some insight with that, where you're open to be able to have some very interesting conversations with your team, and it isn't something where you're just telling them do this and do that. This is what this should be, and all that kind of stuff. But it's helping them process the information and get the real understanding involved. And if you do that, you're actually starting to do it. But guess what? If you've been just a manager in your situation for a long time, guess what? That's an area that you need to grow on. You need to become better on that. You need to learn how to do that truly, because that is true leadership. Leadership is not where you're just dictating and pointing fingers and telling them what to do and all that kind of stuff. That's not real leadership. Real leadership is when you're working together with your team in such a way where magical success can happen. And so that's just something that I thought I'd throw out today on this, just this one aspect of it. But there's if you see somebody out there in your organization or whatever kind of thing, and all they're doing is pointing fingers, and if they're just sort of telling jokes because they're trying to get everybody to laugh and just capitulate and fall under them, to just do all that kind of stuff. If that's the aspect of it, I've seen a number of people that will sort of tell a joke, but right after the joke is told, their whole way of communicating goes back to dysfunctional kind of thing. It's not this aspect of coming aligned. If you do sometimes tell a joke, sometimes coming together with it and understanding it is a good thing, perhaps. But the bottom line is, if all you're trying to do is to get them to just fall over and capitulate to you and just shut up and do what you tell them to do, and just come by you and everything, you're missing the boat. And that's not leadership. Leadership is when you're really getting a sense of who your people truly are, where they are, how they're growing, how they're becoming, and also how you can bring the sort of the coaching experience and the insights together, also with perhaps some of the neuroscience knowledge or whatever kind of thing, and how the brain works, how the brain processes information and comes up with the right solutions for the situation, and all of that. Those are just some things that when you're talking about your team, if you're the you know the manager of your team, what you have to do is you have to understand how you need to do that better. You need to not just focus on this aspect that a lot of people have a tendency to focus on, but understand how you're really going to develop your team and bring them into real solution, not because of something you told them necessarily, but because of something they gained insightfully uh, because of sort of what's happening and what's going on and all that. Now, sometimes something that you mention, a sentence that you mention, might help them gain insight into something or whatever. Because guess what? There have been people where I go, well, I'll tell you what do you think is the one thing you don't expect that can come on scene on this kind of thing? And people kind of have to kind of think about it for just a second, and maybe come up with stuff or give a thought on it. But the bottom line is that when you're talking about this aspect of leadership, it's not just about you control freaking your people. It's not just about you glorifying yourself. It's about you becoming more and better, but it's also about your team and how you're leading your team in such a way where they are becoming better. And that doesn't mean you're just telling them what to do. No, you're bringing their processing into play so that they have a better understanding of the situation and what they're doing and how the team is and all of that. And all of those things are very different than a number of people in today's world, think about. But it's something that is very key when you're talking about your team. If your whole focus is on you just telling them and they just they just got to shut up and not say anything and just do what you said. If that's your only thought on it, now there may be one or two times where that's applicable, depending on the situation. But if that's your only thing that you kind of focus on, you're not getting the job done, and you're not being a leader, and you're not really developing your team. If you're not being a true leader, your team is not developing adequately. In fact, they're probably getting frustrated in some aspects. So just something to think about on that. But the bottom line is, again, just give some thought as to with as you work with your team, how are you doing that, and to what degree would you need to change what you're doing and how you're doing it to bring radical success to your team, and to bring their understanding and their ability to mentally process correctly and and achieve radical success that sometimes you didn't even think about at the beginning of it. So it's just something to think about that I throw out there. It's when you're talking about getting ready to work with your team, if all you're doing is becoming focused on them and just them staying with you and just and that's it, yeah, who knows? But the bottom line is, if when you're leading them and you're bringing some coaching perspective to it, and you're doing it in such a way where they're still out in the team here, but you can go out and work with them on that to develop that, magical things can happen. So it's just something to think about. It's two different ways that sometimes people don't think about, but they should.
I love it. Well, Randy, we still have more time for you. We have 5 more minutes left in your show, and it's always a pleasure having you here. And any other
Always
personal stories you want to share? Anything that's been happening or has happened, and anyone you've been coaching or companies been working with?
all, all it's a pleasure being here with you as always, my friend. No two ways about it. Yeah, and well, I will say this, that with a lot of the stuff, and I know, and I think you know this, but there's a AEMG professional that they're looking to try to fly me up there and actually have a recording of her interviewing me, kind of thing, because she so appreciates a lot of my story and what has developed in it and what comes out and what I do and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that sort of working out to get that taken care of, and I'm looking forward to that. But there's also I will say this, that a lot of the stuff that we kind of mention here and stuff, uh, when I'm working with pilots and flight crews over at the airport and everything, jet pilots and things, guess what? I bring certain aspects of this, the coaching perspective and the neuroscience and all that, um, to their understanding, and it's kind of amazed in some respects as to what they sort of experience and sense, and it's and I'm kind of appreciative that there's many people in the building that are employees there, many people in the building that really appreciate who I am, and when they see me, we're both waving, kind of thing. But there's I see others that when they respond with their hello and all that kind of stuff, it's in a way that's not just convenient. It's very positive, and so I just appreciate the fact that, and it's very aligned, kind of sort of what we were talking about with this show and everything, because there's a number of people there that just a good number of them that we just have a real positive connection when we see each other in the halls and all this kind of stuff. And they're different programs, different people, but also different roles, because some of them are uh, kind of records people. Some of them are sales people. Some of them, I'm instructor and examiner and all that. And a lot of sort of what I'm describing here a little bit, you can kind of see in the way that you connect with people, and it's amazing that if you connect with people in such a positive way, their reaction is very positive. And going forward with your connection, and you're able to have conversations and things like that for various things, it can be amazing. So the outcome on it can be very big. And so it's just something to think about when you're talking about the stuff that I'm bringing here. Um, it can make a huge difference in ways that sometimes people don't even remember or don't think about.
All right. Well, thank you, Randy. How can we reach out to you?
Well, as you know, if you go to my website, coachingforrelevance.com, and you go down to the very bottom of the homepage on it, it has my email and my cell phone number there. So if somebody wants to call and just have a chat, uh, they can do that. I don't do a whole lot of sales pitches, but if they have a need, yeah, we'll come up with something. But the bottom line is, if they just want to have a chat, so be it. We'll have a chat and stuff. And if it's somebody that's locally here and they want to get together and have a Coke and talk, we can do that. So,
Awesome.
so just something to think about on that. And but just want to kind of leave some benefit for people. And as you've heard me say before, I'm not looking to retire because I want to kind of work, right through the tape kind of thing. And but after I'm dead and gone, I don't want. It doesn't matter that people don't remember my name, but if there are a lot of people that do, but if there's people that remember that there was this guy that brought this one insight that, man, I tell you what, I applied it and it made a difference in my life. If there's some people like that experience that, we're good. And that's what I'm all about, trying to bring some value to it. So it's just an honor being on here. It's been an honor to be a part of the program, as you said, for a couple of years. And glad to have the movie documentary out there and autobiography and all that. And but yeah, just an honor to be here. And Jill, an honor to be with you as a host.
Thank you so much.
Almost every week.
Thank you. You enjoy the rest of your day. And don't forget to reach out to our dear friend. And always a pleasure. We'll be back here next time, same place, same time. And coachingforrelevance.com. Definitely. All right?
Sounds good. Well, listen, my friend, you have a good one, okay?
You too, sweetheart. Thanks so much. Bye-bye,
Okay.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aw.
Hello, I'm Randy Swaim. I'm a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach and the founder for Coaching for Relevance. Our vision is to bring freedom to potential in all that is across our path. And one of the things we really want to do, which is aligned with our aviation background, is to help teams and leaders break free of the gravitational forces that are holding them back and their success back, and help them soar to their altitudes. So that's our passion, and that's what we're all about.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.